Motorcycle final drive chain adjustment. Join me today when I'll show you how I do it. Welcome back to the channel. So as you can see, this motorcycle has a stretch chain that is way out of spec, with approximately 55 to 60 millimeters of slack, and is in need of some adjustment. When taking measurements on the chain, make sure to rotate the chain and take measurements in several locations in case there are any tight spots, in which case if there are any adjustments made, they should be from this reading. So let's begin by getting this bike onto a paddock stand, just to make things a little easier to work on. Then give these nuts and threads a little clean on both sides. This will help ease with the adjustment. Now we can place a 17mm socket or spanner onto the near side axle, just to stop it from potentially spinning whilst we undo the axle nut on the off side with a 24mm socket and breaker bar. Although it makes things a lot easier, don't worry if you don't have a breaker bar. Although this nut should be done up fairly tight, you should be able to crack it off with a long spanner or ratchet. The axle nut only needs to be loosened off, just a couple of threads is enough. Then I'm just going to clean off the surface with some isopropyl alcohol so I can create a guide mark with a Sharpie pen, doing this on both sides. Then using a 14mm spanner to hold the adjustment nut in place, and a 12mm spanner to break free the lock nut, then just back these off a couple of threads. Checking our Haynes manual, it states the correct amount of chain slack for this bike should be between 30 to 40 millimeters. So using the adjustment nut, I give it 2 full turns in on both sides to pull the rear wheel backwards and thus tighten the chain. Then check what difference that has made with a ruler. Just to note here, the point of measurement should be approximately halfway from the swing arm pivot point and the rear axle. It appears in my case 2 full turns is too much and the chain is now too tight, so I adjust the nuts the opposite way by 1 full turn on my markings, so the rear wheel can go forwards a little bit. You may need to physically move the wheel forwards after adjusting the nut by either hitting the tyre with the side of your fist or a hammer of some kind, or even a sturdy piece of wood. Continue with the adjustments until you are happy that the chain slack is within specification, but please do take note to ensure the rear wheel is also aligned properly and is running true, as can be seen demonstrated on this illustration here. So if we have a look at this image of the rear end of the swing arm, we have the left hand side of the bike, so the direction of travel is this way, and the right hand side making the direction of travel this way. So to make sure the rear wheel is properly aligned, we make sure the index markings on each side of the swing arm match up on both the left and the right hand side to the small notch in the axle bolt washer, as can be seen here. Although it's a little hard to make out on the image and maybe in person, there is a small groove on the washer that denotes the centre of the axle. Make sure to make the adjustments in small and even increments, going back and forth from the left and the right side adjusters. So for example, the axle bolt notch should read, let's say, number 4 on the left hand side and number 4 on the right hand side. If the left hand side is number 4 and the right hand side is number 5, then you will have a slightly misaligned rear wheel. So continue the adjustments carefully until both sides match up as close as you can get them. Once you are happy with that, we can then go ahead and lightly tighten up the axle nut. Then we can torque this down to 88 Newton meters. But please make sure to check the axle position has not moved on your swing arm marks that you have just set, in between snugging up and torquing down the nut. If that's all good, we can then proceed to tighten up the adjustment nut, locking nuts on both sides, and then we can torque these down to 9 Newton meters. And that's the job complete. I hope this video has been of some use to you. Please don't forget to hit that like button and consider subscribing if you haven't already. Every like and subscribe really does help me out on the channel. Thank you all for watching, and ride safe.